Alright, I want to do a quick lesson on how to go through and set up materials and do the scene attributes and then actually render out some renderings. Okay, if you want to follow along, the file that I'm working off of, if you go into assignment 2 and actually sorry, back here assignment 2, there's a folder called tutorial videos, and so it's the playset rendering start file. This is this file right here that I'm going to be working in. Alright, so the rendering aspects are over underneath render. Okay, one of the first things you want to do when you get into this is probably go through and assign some materials. So you can see some reference images down here, what's already been assigned. So if you type A, you can go ahead and go to the appearance menu and pull that out. Now, real quickly, just to make a note, the basic material that the file starts out in is this steel satin. Okay, so that's what you see there. What I want to note, if let me jump back. Sorry, close this, and let me jump back over to the modeling side. Is if you right mouse click, there's actually the appearance palette. So in here in the modeling window, you can assign materials just to get different colors. Okay, but notice there's also something called physical materials. Okay, so there's a whole separate library of physical materials. So if you're looking to do any kind of study about the volume, weight, and so forth, you can choose one of these as a way to basically use it. It's got the physical attributes more than it does have the appearance attributes. Okay, so just wanted to point that out. So I'm going to jump over once again back to the render side. I'm going to right mouse click and bring up the appearance one again, or type A, or you can go right there to get it. So here's in the design, so what's currently in my file. Okay, here's my library. I can search for different materials if I want to. So if something that's red, it'll pull up the possible ones that are there. Let's do wax. Actually, that's what I was using earlier. Oh, there's 3 right there. There we go. The 3 different types of waxes that we can use. Okay, so I've already done searches, and just let me point out on some of these, like here underneath plastic textured, you have to actually download these. They're not necessarily in the library, but you download them. It takes just a second. So if you click right there, it'll just automatically start the download process for you. When it gets finished, it's done and ready to use. Okay, and basically you can grab it from here, drag and drop it out there on the geometry. You got 2 different ways to apply it. It defaults to bodies. So let me just show this one real quickly. Drag and drop. Okay, it's been applied. Shows up here at the top now. This has been applied to the whole body. Okay, just for illustration purpose, if I switch this to face and I come out and drag and drop it on there, this one may be all one face. I may not do much. Let me try this. Notice I can apply relative to a face. Now, these are sculpted forms, and when they convert it over to solids, you didn't probably get good clean faces out of to do a lot of this with. So, I'm most likely going to choose the bodies one to do that. Okay, so let's kind of follow our guide here. This bottom plate is going to be that red color. So let me grab the red wax, assign that. Make sure I get just that one. Kind of doing it funky. There we go. Okay, do the blue next. Okay, do red again. Okay, so once again, if I didn't have any of these up here, I would be searching and dragging and drop, and they show up out there. Let's grab this glass medium color. Okay, gets that. And finally, the picture is blue as well. Now, when I apply this, it's going to say, do you want to keep that one that was a face? In this case, I'll remove. Alright, so there is my basic setups with regards to the materials and all. Okay, right now it's doing what we call hardware rendering. So transparency is not really showed, gives you basic colors, doesn't really do much with regards to shadows, except there's one there. Now, if I switch to, okay, here where it says in canvas, and click on that and let it start rendering, let me close this out, don't need this anymore. It's basically like working in KeyShot. It's real rough to start with. It kind of goes through the refine process. If you want something that looks better, over time, you basically just let it sit here and rest. As you can see, this kind of shows you here the elapsed time, the number of iterations, kind of repeats that's doing to kind of clean it up. Here it'll be excellent, and then finally, if you want to get to a final one, you can do that, or we can actually go all the way out to there and set this to be um, infinite, so it would actually never stop. In the case when it gets to excellent, it actually would stop there. That's kind of how you say, I want to get to excellent and stop. And as you can see, it's very subtly kind of making changes and all with that. Okay, let me go back and pause this and talk about a couple other things. So there's the appearance. The next one you probably want to look at is the scene settings. Okay, this is basically where you got the environment, a library and all. So you can easily just drag and drop and assign different environment that way. There's a lot that's in here that's kind of underneath the studio setup, but there's also a snow field if you wanted to do something like that. Just drag and drop with it. Give it a second to load up, and it'll apply it once again to the background, to the reflections, the lighting, and all. It takes over. Once again, some of these are where you have to download them. Okay, let's go back up. That was a I think warm light is where I started with this. Okay, I'll go with that. Now, also on this under settings is where you can, like if you needed to reposition this. Notice I've already got it rotated, so once again I can rotate this around and see how the shadows change with that. I want to do something like that as well. Move it up and down and so forth. Background is currently set to environment. I can set it to a solid color if I want to do something like that, and right there's the color swatch. I'll keep this one as an environment right now with the gray. These are where you turn on options for ground plane, flatten ground. Okay, once again kind of flattens out the sphere that this is sitting on, and then also reflections. You can turn that off and on with that as well. Okay, and when you do that, you can actually control the roughness of it. So it's kind of a way to make blurry reflection. Let's see if it'll show up. Yeah, it's starting to do something down there. Let me see if I just crank it all the way over. And not right now, but keep it down fairly low at this point. Camera-wise, this is a perspective with orthographics, meaning if I click on this, that's a true orthographics. If I click on the home icon, that is a perspective. Okay. Now, down here at the bottom, we can do depth of field as well, but I want to switch this to an aspect ratio, in this case 4:3. Okay, and I'm going to choose over here. Notice I've already got some views in here, so let's try to recreate one real quickly. So I'll do something like this, kind of eyeball it. Okay, oops, go up and move over. Now once again, this is set up so we can frame it. That looks pretty good. You like something, right mouse click on, let me get out of this one again. Okay, so I set that to 4:3, hit close. If I come up here and click on this, you can say create a new view. So we'll call this render view demo. Okay, alright, so I can easily switch between these by just clicking once again after I created one of these, and you can see it'll flip between them. Alright, now I want to create something that looks like one of these down here. If I click on one of these, you can see that it really looks very tight as far as the colors and everything. Let me go to this one here. Okay, the reflections and all with it. So you can once again do that in Canvas Render. You definitely do this to kind of get a rough feel for how things are going to look and all, but you're sitting here waiting for it to kind of finalize out, so it's not necessarily the best. Okay, instead, if you go to the render menu, okay, if you click on this, what you get is basically options to where you want to render with this and the quality that you want to do with this. Okay, so you can do things cloud-based. Well, let me go through. Up here you can pick your basic format size. If you click on web, you can pick these different ratios. Okay, so you can pick something like that. Alright, this will show you how much cloud credits this will cost as a student. You get unlimited, but only during this time can you use a total of 16. Okay, currently it'll take about 20 minutes to render this based on the cloud. All right. Now if I do the standard quality, okay, same number of credits in this case, not much different. If you do something like print, it definitely cranks up the number, and if you do a final quality, you can see that takes more as well. Okay, so that's going to create a fairly large file, something really great at printing and everything. I'm going to stick with this web right now. I'm going to do just a fairly small size, and I'm going to switch from cloud-based to local. So this is actually going to do it on my computer. Okay. Here, if you click under Advanced Settings, you can set this to be excellent. This kind of mimics what you saw out there in doing it in Canvas settings and all. I'll click back on that. I'll just keep it at the final one, local. Let's hit render. Okay, so it basically is now rendering in the background. Okay, and if you click on this, you can sit there and watch this go through the rendering process. Once again, it's working towards achieving that quality that was set there prior. So naturally, if it's set to excellent, it's going to take a lot longer than it is for kind of this standard quality that we did. I think 75%. Okay, so that's kind of the basic process of going through and doing renderings and all. Now, once you finish these renderings, okay, and if I come in and let's say click on this one, and I want to actually use this rendering, it's what you have to do is click right there to download it. Okay, so that's one way to get it out of what you see there and just save it out. All right. You can also adjust the exposure and delete the image, do some other option settings there as well. Alright, so that gives you kind of a general overview of rendering. One final note. Currently in my file, okay, there are some surface geometry. These were some plates that I did that had something that made them surfaces, not solids. When I go to render these, and I had like glass assigned to them, they do not look the same as a solid. Okay, so the material attributes are really set up for solid geometry, not necessarily surface geometry. So just be aware of that. By chance you have something over here that is a surface and you assign the same material to it, and right beside it something that's a solid, it's going to look different. Okay. Alright, let's see how we are on this one. So once again, click on this, you can see it's making the process and getting there pretty good. It's kind of funny in that all through this process, it doesn't quite look the same as rendering in the window, meaning there's no kind of shadows and so forth. I think all that kind of gets added at the end when you do it this way. Okay, so you will end up with something like this, where you do have shadow underneath it, shadows from the glasses and so forth. Okay, so just be aware that it kind of looks different until it gets finished with it. Alright, that's it for this tutorial.